This is the Fitzy and Whipper with Kate Ritchie podcast.
We've had a great relationship with this man over the years, and he's brought out a memoir from the voice of Savage Garden. It's called Unlovable. It's out now, and it's the magnificent Darren Hayes. Welcome!
Welcome, buddy!
Wow, that applause. Thank you.
Welcome. No, we do that for everyone.
Do you know why I'm so excited about this?
No.
It's because you're unbelievably honest and beautiful and giving. And the book, I believe, will be full of that.
Well, yeah, it was very hard to write. It took a year to drop the veil.
Yeah.
There's always a veil between, as you know, anyone in the public eye, between you and the audience. And, you know, this was a lot of emotional burdens that I had been carrying for a long time. I'll just give a brief, just in case people are thinking, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
I had a very traumatic childhood. So I grew up in a home with extreme domestic violence.
Right.
So my father was a violent alcoholic. He really abused my mother and often his children. And I have realised now that, I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder because of that.
Yep.
And when I was writing this book, I actually discovered there were a lot of things that I experienced that I had forgotten. But it just shows up in triggers in your life.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And they were destroying my life, and I didn't know why.
Well, because they don't actually go anywhere. I guess that's why people disassociate. Do you think that for a long time throughout your life, that's kind of what you did? And maybe the process of writing the book brought so many things to the forefront.
I mean, it's the only reason I became an entertainer. I had no choice. So when I was a child, home life was so bad that I had to become the most imaginative child. I had this cinematic, wonderful, magical world that I escaped into.
Thank God.
Then when I went to high school, the bullying was so extreme. So the only escape for me was to become a pop star. Went to see Michael Jackson in 1987, and I saw this extraordinary superhero, this creature, and I just thought, oh, I'll just do that.
And then everyone will love me.
Exactly. And it's that story that a lot of actors and singers have.
Can I ask what the relationship with your father or more particularly your mother ended up being, Darren?
No one in my family has any contact with my father now, thank God.
He's still with us?
We don't know.
Alive? Yeah.
Don't know.
My mother is 79. She is... I can't believe how joyful she is. You know, the great thing about my career was that I was able to help emancipate her.
Sure.
You know, she still retains this zest for living. I joke about this, like I hate waking up. Like I'm like, another morning. She's like, yay!
Good on you,
She's
Mum.
just such a beautiful, joyful, loving person.
What an energy.
And that's in you. That is ultimately in you as well.
Yeah, she protected that in me.
Yeah.
Did she get to experience your world at the top of Savage Garden? Did
Totally.
you have mum there?
Awesome.
Did she? Is there a story where your mum met somebody and you were just like in a room going, "Oh my God, this is unbelievable"?
There is, but here's the thing. My mother is not a star effer. My mother loves all of her children equally.
Yeah.
She doesn't care that I do what I do. She only cares that I'm happy. Yes, of course, I spoiled her. We were, for all intents and purposes, poor. I'm really proud of that because I felt rich. She made me feel rich. I felt like royalty.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But her thing is, like, whenever she's in Santa Monica where I live, if she saw a celebrity, I would very quietly go, "Mum, that's Jennifer Garner." And she'd go, "Oh my God, I love Jennifer Garner." That's her thing.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Sometimes,
brilliant?
bless her, she'll lie. I'm like, "You're not a fan of, this ABC or whatever." And she's like, "I am."
Yeah.
Is there anyone else you're nervous about reading the book?
No.
No.
It's fascinating to hear your background. Bullied at high school, and I can only imagine how much you would have gone into your shell. And then you're performing on stages like the 2000 Sydney Olympic closing ceremony. You did a duet with Pavarotti. I can't even imagine going out there And
Extraordinary.
just
it
the
wasn't
nerves.
a shell, it was a chrysalis.
Right.
Very gay chrysalis, but it was
Yeah.
a chrysalis.
Just wasn't out yet, hadn't broken
No,
out.
for real. It was like a pact with the universe. I sat there, crossed arms on my desk. No teachers, no counsellors intervened. Nobody helped me.
No.
And I just thought, I'm not like any of you. One day I will show you.
Yeah.
There's an anecdote in this book where one of my bullies who beat me up ends up coming to the Brisbane Entertainment Centre, and he's in the front row and he's screaming, "Darren, I love you. Darren, I love you. I love you. I love you."
Gosh.
What's that?
What did you do?
I was just in shock. I just could not believe it. And I didn't feel any need for retribution or to rub it in his face. I felt compassion. And also I had to take into consideration where we were all raised. We came from, I grew up in Logan City, a southern suburb of Brisbane. Everyone was struggling. There was a lot of dysfunctional families. I don't think my story is very unique.
Why Unlovable?
For the longest time, I think I had an imposter syndrome, sadly, because as much as he was a monster, I think I always wanted my father to love me.
Yep.
When I never received that, it created this unquenchable desire to be loved, and it was a black hole. I thought if I could just be applauded and be loved, then maybe I could use some Sally's spack filler and just fix that problem. And it obviously, as you know, this is a tailor's all the time, and it doesn't work until
it
you do the
doesn't
work
work.
and love yourself.
Well, tell us now, what are the other great things about Darren Hayes that we don't know about? That is not Savage Garden related or book writing related, or you have to realise that I'm
Do you
so
collect stamps?
wonderful in so many other ways.
Gold velour?
Well, I'm wearing gold velour today.
Can wear gold velour.
You know what's one of the things that I love? It's hard to talk about yourself in the positive, but
Come
I'm
on.
learning to do this. I realise that my favourite part of my job is making people's day. But I don't just do it on stage. Last night I did a book signing. Now our event started at 7:30. It ended at 9. I left the venue at midnight because I just
stayed.
Yep. There were people around the block and
Awesome.
looking into people's eyes and holding their hands and listening to their stories and making them feel seen.
Yep.
That
It's very powerful, isn't
is
it?
very powerful, and I received that from other entertainers when I was a young kid. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks did that for me when I was 15. I waited outside a hotel
What a performance.
and she came outside and she held my hands and she looked deep into my eyes, and it meant the world to her. She was struggling at the time now, I know, with addiction.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember I gave her some rosary beads and she said, I'll wear these on stage. My 15-year-old self that was so struggling, she made my entire year.
Yeah.
She drove away and then the limo stopped. It was like something out of a movie. She reversed, the window went down. She went, "Do you have tickets to the show?" And I was like,
Awesome.
"Of course we do." And she's like,
Yeah.
"Okay." And then she drove off.
Oh, that's great.
Right?
And then she wrote Gypsy about you. That
Yeah,
wasn't
She
about
wrote
you, wasn't
Gypsy
it?
about me.
Wow.
She wrote Gypsy. She said, "So I'm back to the velvet, velour, and the underground."
Isn't that interesting? I never knew.
Mate, it's like we've said, you have always opened up to us, and we really appreciate it. It is the memoir from the voice of Savage Garden, Unlovable. It's out now by Darren Hayes. Thank you so much, mate. It's always a great time
I
having
just
you
love
here.
coming in here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks,
Such a
brother.
pleasure to meet you.
Good to see you.
Thanks, guys.
Fits in Whipper with Kate Ritchie is a Nova podcast. For more great shows like this, download the Nova Player via the App Store or Google Play.
The Nova Player.